G7 SE, G7 HE, and even G7 Pro. Bro, it's so convoluted, and here's exactly why you're watching this video. I am Mr. D, you're watching Digital Tech, and here's the full in-depth comparison between G7 series from Gamesir. First of all, I've already released the full review on G7 Pro Wuchang edition, and this video you can watch right here, and the review on a white wired version you can watch here. And yep, let's move to my desk. These controllers were sent to me for review, but the opinions in this review are entirely my own. I haven't been paid to say or not to say anything, and if there's any shortcomings or problems in this product, I'm gonna let you know, so the companies will make better products over time. And as usual, unboxing first. Comes with protection rings as usual, that's good. And 3-meter long braided cable, which has a very good quality. It has no right to be this good at $45, by the way. Here's G7 HE. And it has the same cable with exceptional quality. And the older brother G7 Pro. This one is wireless Wuchang edition. Nothing beats a J2 holiday. Of course nothing, because it's on my desk already. So the controller itself, it comes with a charging dock included, 2 extra D-pads. Wuchang edition also comes with a Wuchang keychain, yo. And the same high quality USB-C to USB-A cable, 3 meters as usual. G7 Pro weighs 267 grams, G7 HE 226 grams, and G7 SE weighs 218 grams. In terms of pricing, G7 SE costs $45, G7 HE $50, G7 Standard Edition costs $80, G7 Wireless costs $100. In terms of materials, the more they cost, the better materials are in my opinion. G7 SE is fully plastic, grips are laser engraved, not rubber, and it has removable faceplate as every controller in G7 series. And yeah, answering the question you might have, you can swap them between G7 series, like this. G7 HE has same materials as G7 SE, but the only difference is grips are rubberized now. Feel amazing, by the way. And they have exactly the same material and placement on G7 SE and G7 Pro. As for G7 Pro, you have rubberized grips behind and plastic in front. And the Wuchang edition has special front plate, which you can feel every feather when you move your finger through it. As for feel enhanced, if you give me any of this controller blindfolded, I could immediately say which one I'm holding in my hands, because they feel quite different. You know, same, but different. And also, in terms of shape, it's a little smaller than the usual Xbox Series controller, but not by much. My first controller that I've tried from G7 series was G7 Pro, and after that controller I was like, maybe G7 SE and G7 HE will feel cheaper after G7 Pro, and man, I was so wrong. I took the controller out of the box, I immediately connected to Gamesir Nexus app, I've checked for any updates maybe, I've set the controller to 1000 Hz because by default it goes with 250 Hz, so keep that in mind. So if you're gonna use this controller on PC, go straight to Nexus app and change the setting to 1000 Hz. And I've actually tried to play with 250 Hz, and yeah, I can feel the difference. Then I booted Call of Duty, tried a couple of matches, and I was like, yeah, that's quite a good experience, especially for this price. But if you don't know, I'm not a big fan of membrane buttons, I prefer mechanical buttons, and for that I've tried G7 HE. The first thing I immediately noticed when I took it out of the box is that G7 HE has rubberized grips on the back, and it feels much more premium than the plastic. I know some people don't like rubberized grips, they prefer plastic because it lasts longer, but in terms of feel in hands, I think rubber is always better. But as always, it's only my opinion. And then I've booted Call of Duty, and for some reason G7 HE felt even better than G7 SE, even though they have exactly the same stick modules. I don't know why, but this was just my first impressions. And my only gripe about G7 SE and G7 HE is that they don't have a trigger stops. I'm so get used for these trigger stops. I just cannot play shooters without them anymore. I mean, for driving games, for platformers, for fightings, everything is fine. But when I try to play shooters on these controllers, I was like, man, I need hair triggers. And in terms of feel in hand, I would say G7 HE is closer to G7 Pro, simply because it has rubberized grips, which makes feel this controller much more expensive and premium in hands. And of course, this doesn't feel cheap at all, don't worry. In terms of battery, G7 SE and G7 HE don't have battery at all, because they only work when you use them wired on PC or on Xbox. So the battery capacity on these two controllers are 0, and the playtime is and the battery life is infinite. As for G7 Pro, it has 1200 mAh battery, and in real world experience I would say it will last up to 15 hours. But G7 Pro will always be on the charging station, so you'll probably never run out of battery at all. In terms of sticks, G7 SE and G7 HE have Hall effect sticks. These Hall effect sticks are very well calibrated, and I can say they feel absolutely amazing in games. Whereas G7 Pro has the latest TMR Magres sticks from Gamesir. And these sticks, my guys, are one of the best on the market right now. They're very linear and responsive. Nowadays when I play Call of Duty or Fortnite, I always use this controller because it's just great for FPS games. As for the difference between Hall effect and TMR, in simple terms, TMR sticks are just improved version of Hall effect technology. It's more linear and more energy efficient. They both have great sticks, but this one is just better. But at the same time, it doesn't make this controller obsolete. These sticks are still better than any sticks from first-party controllers. For extra buttons, G7 SE has 2 extra buttons on the back, which you can also lock if you don't need them. At the same time, G7 HE has 2 back buttons as well, but it doesn't have a locking mechanism anymore. And these buttons have exactly the same tactile switches. Same goes to mic mute button and 3.5mm jack. As for G7 Pro, it has 2 back buttons as well. It has button lock mechanism as well, and it also have 2 extra buttons on top. These are mechanical micro switches. As for triggers, they have exactly the same trigger shape, and they even feel kinda similar, but this one is more dense and it also more dampened. And G7 Pro is the only G7 series controller that have trigger stops, and those are very high quality short travel micro switch buttons. This is what makes this controller much better for FPS games compared to other two, in my opinion. As for connectivity, these two controllers only can be used wired, and they work natively on Xbox because these are Xbox licensed controllers, and they also work only wired on PC. And I'm not gonna even test it on mobile because who is playing mobile games with a wired controller? If you are, let me know in the comments. As for G7 Pro, you can use it wireless and wired on Xbox. Yes, let me say that again, because many people are still commenting after the full review, is this controller wireless or wired, and so on and so forth. Yes, this controller can be used wireless on Xbox via using dongle or a charging station. You just need to plug your dongle in your Xbox and you're good to go. You can even wake up console with this button. Same goes to the charging station, by the way. You can just put it here, connect it with USB-C to your Xbox, and same way this controller will be wireless on Xbox. As for the standard G7 Pro versions, which are white and shadow amber, those only can be used on Xbox being wired. As for Steam Deck connectivity, sorry guys, I don't know, I don't have a Steam Deck. Same goes to Switch, and for iOS this controller doesn't work, so basically this controller is made for Xbox, PC and Android. Also G7 Pro has 3-part faceplate, the front cover and handles. And it looks just stunning without a faceplate. And yes, you can also put the faceplate from G7 SE and HE on G7 Pro, but for this you need to change the D-pad to a 4-way D-pad. How does it look with the blue faceplate in your opinion? Let me know in the comments. And here's the black one. Many people at the beginning, including me, was like, what is this D-pad, Gamesir? It looks terrible, blah blah blah. But I didn't know at that time that it was made specifically to allow it interchange the faceplates from G7 SE and HE. You cannot use G7 Pro faceplates on G7 SE and HE, only the other way around. As for face buttons, they're all different. G7 SE utilized membrane buttons, which is the same technology that is used in most of the first-party controllers, such as DualSense or Xbox Series controller. G7 HE use micro switches instead, and they're clicky with their short travel distance. I like these buttons a lot. And G7 Pro has optical micro switches. D-pads are different as well. G7 SE has membrane D-pad, it has short travel distance and is quite satisfying to press, to be honest. And all of them have central pivot mechanism to prevent pressing all 4 directions at the same time. G7 HE has tactile switches in D-pad. It has even shorter travel and it's much more difficult to press this D-pad, but at the same time it gives you more control. And G7 Pro uses mechanical micro switch buttons for the D-pad. And finally, something is the same in these controllers, and this similarity is the bumpers, because they all use tactile switches for bumpers. It's very easy to press at any point. In terms of feel, HE and SE feels absolutely the same. They are very clicky and responsive and not loud at all. And at the same time, G7 Pro feels just a bit more mushier. You still can feel every press. I would say this feels even more premium than G7 SE and G7 G7HE because these bumpers are a bit more dampened and they are even quieter than these two controllers. So I prefer these bumpers over HE and SE. As for vibration, I was actually pleasantly surprised because all of them has 4 rumble motors, 2 in handles and 2 in triggers. All of them have no turbo on extra buttons, but they all can utilize macro. As for stick caps, they have exactly the same stick caps, so you can interchange them however you like. And as for control freaks, you can use PS4 and 5 style control freaks on G7 series. I'm not gonna include Nexus app in this review because not many people need this right away, but if you need that information, you can go and watch it on G7Pro Wuchang edition review. Let's move to tests. All of them have 1000 polling rate joysticks. G7 SE showed 996 Hz, G7 HE 994 Hz, and G7 Pro 996 Hz. Great results. Stick analyzer results are as followed. SE 2288 data points with 281 resolution, HE 3029 data points with 249 resolution, and Pro 5535 data points with 4095 resolution. All of them have great triggers with no inner or outer dead zone. SE D-pad feels great for a membrane D-pad. Same goes to HE, but it has more tactile response and requires much more pressure to actuate, but at the same time it offers more control. I really like G7 Pro D-pad for what it is. It's fast, easy to press, and precise. All of them have stick rebound at 0 dead zone, and all 3 shows 0 error on circularity test. For aim-lapse test, I had 1 warm-up round and 1 round for result. On G7HE, I got 38k points, very impressive by the way. On G7HE, I get almost 38k points, and on G7 Pro, I get almost 40k points. These results confirm my feelings playing Call of Duty, which I played several days before I did these tests. All 3 controllers are just great for FPS games. And here are some clips of me playing these 3 controllers in Call of Duty.
Hostile marksman. Enemy kick. Engaging hostile. Hey, don't. Hostile foot patrol. Sniper. Confirming. Sniper, get down. Miss. Archangel perfect fire.
As for fighting games, I've played Street Fighter V as usual. G7 SE D-pad feels great to play fighting games because it reminds me of retro controllers that I've used back in the day. You can feel every push of a button. Only rolling movements are a little difficult to perform, keep that in mind. Same goes to G7 HE, but because this D-pad has very hard to press tactile switches, it's even less suitable for fighting games in my opinion. As for G7 Pro, you can see it yourself on the screen right now how fast I was able to perform combos. This D-pad is actually my favorite amongst all of them for playing fighting games. As I said before, it's very fast, easy to press and precise. As for other type of games such as driving, platforming, single player games, all three controllers are absolutely fine. I don't even see the reason to dive deeper on this matter. Conclusion time! So what can I say? All of these controllers are just phenomenal. I didn't expect much from these two controllers at the beginning, but after using them, they blow me away. They're that good. And if you need a wired controller for an Xbox, these two are a no-brainer. It only depends on which one you prefer more, membrane or mechanical buttons. When I first tried mechanical buttons, I was like, clicky, loud, like whatever, feels bad. But after playing with mechanical buttons for some time, I just cannot go back to use membrane anymore. Even though these membrane buttons are good, I still prefer mechanical or micro switch optical buttons, like on these two. And if you ask me, should you pay $5 more and get G7 HE instead of SE, I would say yes 100%, because this controller provides much more than only $5 you spend on it. And it's also black. Come on guys, it's gonna last longer and look better for longer. At the end of the day, Gamesir provides a big variety of controllers for any budget, and their wired versions are one of the best controllers on the market right now. So if you're looking for a good controller with membrane buttons and membrane D-pad, G7 SE is for you. But if you are not a fan of membrane buttons for some reason, there goes G7 HE, which has mechanical face buttons and tactile D-pad, which is more clicky and more responsive, and everything else stays the same. But if you're looking for the best controller for your Xbox, and of course you can use this controller as well on PC, G7 Pro is your choice. It's not only the best controller for Xbox in my opinion, but it's also one of the best controllers on the market, period. And all of these just for $100. If you play on PC and you don't care about Wuchang version, you can get it for $80. This in my opinion is just a great deal. As for my next review, I'm gonna compare G7 Pro and Blitz 2 pretty soon. And yeah, I'm also gonna review Blitz 2 ALPS version. And actually so many people have asked me about Razer Wolverine, so I'm gonna get that controller as well. And also gonna compare it to G7 Pro in the future. So if you want all of these videos, subscribe to my channel and stay tuned. And if you want to watch my full review on G7 Pro Wuchang edition or G7 Pro in white version, yes I know this is G7 HE, I still don't have my Shadow Ember, but I'm gonna get it soon. These two videos are now on the screen. Adios.